undocumented migrant, sent a letter threatening to kill the president, promising to self-deport after the assassination. CNN reporting shows that investigators believe the migrant was set up. It was a victim of a setup. What is the administration going to do now? And this is an undocumented immigrant. I do want to note that. But this was someone who came forward, was a victim of a crime, and now law enforcement believes he was set up. Go ahead.
Well, I want to clarify what you mean, so we're talking about the same thing. Are you saying this immigrant was here illegally?
Yes, but I am, and that's why I said that. I clarified that.
You said undocumented, and I wasn't clear what that means. I'm assuming they have a fake ID. I'm assuming they have a fake social security number.
That's neither here nor there.
That's
getting away from the question, Stephen. I want this to be, and call me naive, a good faith discussion about what's happening right now.
But when we use language that's designed to obscure the truth, that's not good faith.
An
illegal alien is an illegal alien. They're not an undocumented migrant.
Okay, that's fine. That's another discussion for another day.
I don't know the details of the assassination threat. All I can say, based on what you're telling me, is there's an illegal alien in our country who's making menacing threats. Regardless of the facts or circumstances, we don't want him here. We're going to get to the bottom of it, and I would gladly come back on when I have more information to share with you.
They were set up, just to be clear. But quickly, where is the White House on habeas corpus?
The illegal alien was treated unfairly. Yes, I'm sure the illegal alien was treated very unfairly.
What's going on, everybody? What you just watched was what was supposed to be the intro video that was going to lead into the main video that you all obviously clicked on. But I had to add this addendum during the process of editing because there was no way I was going to let that woman from CNN slide with what's coming out of her mouth just now. This is the original story concerning the man that they said put out this assassination letter towards Donald Trump, right? I just have to clarify on this. It is looking like he was possibly set up. That's okay, fine. It's good that we're getting that clarified, that he may have been set up. But as Stephen Miller said, regardless of whatever it is that you're talking about right now, he's an illegal immigrant and we don't want him here. Why is that? Look at this here for those of you who don't remember when I covered this topic yesterday. In case you didn't know about our man who was apparently set up, Morales Reyes has been previously arrested for felony hit and run, wow, you're a piece of trash, criminal damage to property, and disorderly conduct with a domestic abuser modifier, according to the Department of Homeland Security. Now, what is a domestic abuser modifier? I'm glad you asked. A domestic abuser modifier is a legal term used in criminal law to enhance or adjust charges or penalties when a crime is committed against a current or former intimate partner or a family member. It looks like we have another Kilmar Rodrigo Garcia, ladies and gentlemen. It is not a separate charge, but rather a tag or enhancement applied to an existing charge, such as assault, battery, or harassment, to reflect that the offense occurred in a domestic context. And with all that being said, enjoy the rest of the video that you clicked on to watch. What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure that you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today, there is another huge victory that came down from the Supreme Court. As you can see right here, look at this article titled, Supreme Court Rules Trump Can Restart Deportation of More than 530 illegal immigrants from Biden-era parole program. So now this additional 530,000 illegal immigrants that are losing their TPS status, it's getting snatched from them as it should. This is not the same as the original 350,000 that we reported on, I believe it was 2 weeks ago. This is a whole nother group of 530,000 on top of that 350,000 that are now deportable, and deportations have now restarted for these group of illegal immigrants. This is a huge victory, man, in the face of the judicial tyranny that we've been seeing coming from these DNC lunatics. Before we get too deep into this article, and then I have another video that I want to play for you guys afterwards. It's a sick video of a illegal immigrant Venezuelan who pretended to be a child so that he could enter into a high school. I believe it was out in Ohio. We're going to cover that next. 666 story. But before I get too ahead of myself, I want to take a moment to play this here, right? Because I want to stick to the judicial tyranny that we've been seeing from Democrats for just a moment before we get into this major victory, so that after watching this, we'll have a greater appreciation for these Supreme Court victories that come down on behalf of Trump, right? Let's take a moment to listen to this video here quickly of what Caroline Levitt had to say concerning these nationwide injunctions that Trump has been getting body slammed with ever since he came into office, and even prior since the first term. Let me pull this video up for you right now.
Nationwide injunctions ordered against the first Trump administration, Trump 1.0, account for more than half of the injunctions issued in this country since 1963.
Can we pause right there, please? Time out. The Trump injunctions from just his first term alone, the nationwide injunctions from just the first term alone, account for more than half of our injunctions in this country since 1963. That's just term number one. Take it from the top, and I'm gonna let her finish.
Because nationwide injunctions ordered against the first Trump administration, Trump 1.0, account for more than half of the injunctions issued in this country since 1963. And President Trump had more injunctions in one full month of office in February than Joe Biden had in 3 years. And let me...
That is crazy. We don't have to listen anymore from there. At this point in time, if I'm not mistaken, Trump is well over 100 plus nationwide injunctions. I don't think people understand how absurd and how unprecedented this is as it pertains to this judicial tyranny that he had to deal with coming from the Democrats. The entire time that these DNC lunatics pre-election was talking about dictatorship, tyranny, and Mussolini, all this kind of stuff that they were saying that Trump was going to be. They were setting up the stage for this moment here. We understand that they were always talking about themselves the entire time when they were calling Trump dictator and a tyrant and all these other things, saying that that's what he would be. But what we didn't see, or at least me, maybe you guys knew and understood better than me, but the play that it's very obvious now that they were setting up was not just so much so about fear mongering to get people to not vote for Trump, but was more so about setting the stage to justify their tyranny. That's what that was really all about. And we're seeing it all play out in real time to frustrate in every way possible all attempts for Trump to follow through with the agenda that the American people voted him into office to do. That's what this is all about. So now let's get into this here, because now we can appreciate stuff like this more concerning this huge victory as it pertains to 530,000 more illegal immigrants have had their TPS status taken away from them. So let's get into this article right now. Allow me a moment to just simply scroll down. The Supreme Court ruled Friday that the Trump administration can restart deportations of up to 530,000 Cuban, Haitian, Nicaraguan, and Venezuelan migrants who entered the U.S. as part of a controversial humanitarian program under former President Joe Biden. 7 of the High Court's justices granted the stay of a Boston federal court ruling that had halted the removals of illegal immigrants who had been granted work permits to stay for up to 2 years. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson authored a dissenting opinion, with Justice Sonia Sotomayor joining her, of course. And I quote, "The court has plainly botched this assessment today," Jackson seethed. "It requires next to nothing from the government with respect to irreparable harm." Listen, I'm not really interested in what a person who doesn't even know what a woman is has to say. Okay? You're going to have to wear that forever, Miss Jackson. You can't even tell me what a woman is. So how you're even a Supreme Court judge when you can't answer a basic such as what is a woman, that's beyond me. But when you can't answer a question that basic, I definitely don't want to hear what you have to say concerning matters like this. The fact that this woman is even a Supreme Court judge is completely outrageous. It's completely outrageous. The Biden-appointed justice also warned of the devastating consequences of allowing the government to precipitously upend the lives and livelihoods of nearly 500,000 illegal immigrants while their legal claims were pending. Crimea River. even if the government is likely to win on the merits. In our legal system, success takes time, and the state standards require more than anticipated victory, she added, saying the majority was allowing the Trump administration to inflict maximum pre-decision damage. Once again, cry me a river, because what Biden did by allowing everyone to come in the fashion that he did, we're going to get into that in a moment, was very much so unconstitutional, as Democrat lunatics love to say. We're going to get into that in a moment, though. Let's carry on. Boston U.S. District Judge Indira Talwani, an appointee of former President Barack Obama, had blocked Trump from the unilateral move, saying the migrants in the so-called CHNV program were entitled to a case-by-case review. That is the farthest thing from the truth, ladies and gentlemen. It's actually the reverse. What should have happened is that for these illegal immigrants to receive this type of protection status, it needed to be a case-by-case review to determine whether or not the illegal immigrant was deserving of receiving such a protected status. That's when a case-by-case review was needed and required, as we're going to read here. Jackson claimed in her dissent that the foreigners face the irreparable harm of family separation and other dangers in returning to their native countries, or arrest and detention by the feds. Border hawks have previously argued that Biden shouldn't have paroled the illegal immigrants en masse into the U.S. without a vote of Congress or a case-by-case consideration. Once again, the case-by-case consideration was supposed to occur in order to determine whether or not they were deserving of such protection. Look at this here before we get into the Fox News video. The CHNV program was established without congressional authorization and in violation of statutory requirements that parolee be granted only on a case-by-case basis for explicit national interest or humanitarian purposes, said Dan Stein, the president of the Federation of American Immigration Reform. That's when the case-by-case review was supposed to occur, not now. Now it's time for you to just go home. And here's one of the major reasons why. Look at this video here from Fox News. This is completely disgusting. In this story that we're getting ready to watch right now, this is I believe, 24-year-old illegal immigrant Venezuelan man who pretended to be an unaccompanied minor in order for him to go to high school with your children. How sick and disgusting is this? This is precisely why we need to get a hold on this illegal immigrant crisis that Biden has unleashed onto the country. Let's get into this story next.
Listen to this. He went about his life as a teenage student at a high school in Ohio, but police there say that is all fiction and that in reality, he's actually a 24-year-old Venezuelan migrant. Bill Malugin is following this wild story for us. Bill, what happened here?
Yeah, Aisha, really bizarre story out of the state of Ohio. That's where police have arrested a 24-year-old Venezuelan man who they say was pretending to be a 16-year-old unaccompanied minor. Also, he could attend a local high school, which he was doing successfully for almost a year and a half. Take a look. Police in Perrysburg, Ohio, arresting Anthony Emmanuel Labrador Sierra on Monday. He's now charged with felony forgery. DHS tells Fox he's a visa overstay who first came to the U.S. in 2019 and was a recipient of temporary protective status, aka TPS. He was arrested during a traffic stop in which he was the passenger of a car, and he's now facing charges for enrolling in the school fraudulently. According to the local school district, he was living with two adult legal guardians who contacted them after they discovered he was a 24-year-old man, not a teenager, reportedly after the mother of his child turned him in and revealed his true identity to them. The school district says when he enrolled, he had forged documents, including an Ohio driver's license, a social security number, and DHS TPS documents. He was even playing on the high school's JV soccer and swim teams. In a statement, the school district said the suspect's deception was complex and that multiple agencies were misled by his falsified records. Now, ICE does confirm to Fox News they have placed a detainer request on Labrador Sierra with local law enforcement. He's being held on $50,000 bond. His next court appearance is set for May 29th. Bizarre story, Aisha. We'll send it back.
That is crazy. That is you really have to think to yourself how sick somebody like this is. Let's just go to this guy here, right? This man is 24 years old and intentionally misrepresented himself after coming here, right? And receiving TPS status in 2019. He consciously made the decision after already having a child while here with a grown woman, because he's a grown man, to say to himself, you know what I want to do? Because I'm a sick person, because I'm a monster, I'm going to misrepresent myself with a bunch of forged documents to pretend to be a 16-year-old so that I can prey on your children and on your daughters. Because that's what that's all about, man. There's literally, outside of being a sick lunatic who wants to prey on underage little ones, right? There's no other reason for a 24-year-old man to want to misrepresent himself as a 16-year-old to go to high school other than to take advantage of our children. There's no other reason. I mean, if you just wanted high school credentials or something like that, let's say that that's what his goal was. Well, I really just want a high school education. I mean, I'm sure there's some way you could have gotten a GED. You didn't have to pretend to be a child so that you can go to school with children. And he's having a full experience. What did they say? He played on the JV soccer team and everything. I'm sure he was made a star player over there. You know what comes with that? We're talking about high school. Come on, man. This guy's sick. This guy's sick. Who knows throughout the time period, what did they say, about a year that he was pretending to be a child in high school? Who knows how many little ones, underage children, this man took advantage of? We have no idea who he took advantage of while he was there. This is why we have to get things under wrap. We have to. Mass deportation has to happen. An end to the TPS nonsense that we saw under the Biden administration. It has to happen. It is happening. And this is what I voted for. And with all that being said, that does it for today's news. So I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And also do not forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. And until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.